question. What happened to all those autistic kids that are doing exclusion diets, supplements and other biomedical treatments over so many years? And I've belonged to many biomedical parent discussion groups over my 20 plus years of researching autism and treating my own child. 20 years is actually a long time to follow the progress of these autistic children, and on these discussion groups as well. These children are now adults, and so where are they now? Is there any research or statistics as to the outcomes of these children doing biomedical treatments? With diets, gut repair, supplements, and a whole host of other treatments, in addition to behavioural intervention, speech and OT as well. So just to clarify what I'm actually talking about when I'm talking about biomedical treatments, the conventional model is you get your diagnosis, you get your funding. These days it's NDIS. You do your early or behavioural intervention therapies, speech, OT, maybe a psychologist. You do social skills training, and look, about 7% of those children actually lose their diagnosis of autism. But a lot end up on medications or more than one medication. And the research is there about the outcomes and quality of life, and showing that they're actually very poor for these children as well. But there's actually an alternative path as well, a path less travelled. On that path, we're doing more like things like with diet, gut stuff, sleep, routine pathology testing and correcting those nutritional deficiencies. And look, those are on the conventional path to do that as well, but maybe not to the extent that we do. Often we've said, warning, you don't want to go down these alternative routes. Stop, because it's dangerous and so forth. But this alternative path that we're talking about, look, autism is a complex disorder and it requires a complex treatment plan as well. We look at the comorbidities that actually come with autism, whether they're in pain or discomfort. We look more into nutritional deficiencies. We do look at more into diet, gut-related issues, and environmental, maybe environmental insults that they might have. We look at things like mitochondrial dysfunction, oxidative stress, and methylation, and oxytocin, and PANDAS, and so forth. And it's autism is very complicated. I put this info up together not that long ago, just to show that this is what most people actually see when it comes to autism. Yes, they see the poor social skills, the communication issues, the restrictive and the repetitive behaviour, the stimming, sleep issues, and look, yes, there's anxiety, feeding issues are there, and there's gut-related issues. But what people don't actually see is the other half, where nutritional deficiencies are actually quite prevalent in these children. There's food intolerances, there's chronic gut issues with a lot of metabolic sort of issues. There's many co-occurring medical conditions as well. And as they become older, a lot of these children end up with cardiovascular disease, diabetes, even post-traumatic stress disorder, also depression. And unfortunately, it also shows that they also have a higher incidence of premature death, which is a very, very sad outcomes that we have for these children. So that's the conventional model versus the alternative model. We know that the outcomes and quality of life are actually very poor for these children they're going down the conventional path. But what are the outcomes and quality of life for those that are actually going down the alternative path? So the research on the outcomes of autistic children treating conventionally as they become adults, as I said, is actually very poor. And I've already written about and spoken about the poor quality of life that these autistic adults and their parents actually have. And nobody seems to want to listen to this. So how are these children on biomedical treatments doing? Like, it's been 10, 15, 20 plus years or even later now, so the kids must be anywhere between 20 and 30 years or even older now. So all we actually have is actually anecdotal reports of how these children are doing. And when I contacted the moderators of some of the older Yahoo biomedical groups that I belong to, there was a consensus that anecdotally 60 to 70% of the children are actually doing quite well. Yes, they've still got some quirky habits as well, but overall they're doing very well. And you look, yes, there are still those that are autistic, with or without intellectual disabilities, but they also seem to be, look, they're autistic, but they're happy and they're having a good quality of life, and the parents are actually coping very well as well. Those that are doing well, many are also completing or completed school, they've entered a career path, and they're either in part-time employment or full-time employment. They're independent and doing very well, very much like my son. So for 20 plus years, all of the online discussion groups and parent support groups that I belonged to were those that actually had an underlying autism research or biomedical type of flavour, I guess. So those Yahoo groups, they were my tribe. I was searching for answers to understand why my son was the way he was and what I can do to help him. Since I'd taken back control after the conventional autism treatment model had put him on medication and was failing to produce anywhere near a desirable outcome for him. And there was nothing of interest to me on any of the other autism discussion groups. Look, hearing comments like, "I hear you, sweetie, autism is tough, but you are such a wonderful parent." Look, it may have given me hope, but there is no plan to work with comments like that. Look, what do I do? So that wasn't my tribe. So although we do not have statistical figures on the outcomes of these children doing diets, supplements and so forth, look, one thing that I have realised is that we do have a very good representation of the outcomes of these children from the tone of the discussions on these groups over the years. Something that the current generation of autism parents would not be aware of. And it's only recently that I realised how different the discussions are on these two different groups. But before we go into that, look, maybe first meet my autism tribes that supported me over the years. The very first one was actually the St. John's listserv, which was run from the St. John's University in America. And there was a lot of information shared between not only parents, but on that group were also researchers and doctors, and everybody talked to each other, and we all learnt from each other. It was actually a wonderful group. And we actually shared information with the fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue groups as well, because we're all looking at the same type of research and trying to see how it applied to not only our children but also in chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia as well. Like in this paper here, looking at mycoplasma in fibromyalgia, and also how it may have applied to autistic children as well. And look, this paper, this post is actually over 20 years ago, 1999 as well. So look, we're looking at all these things, 20 years ago now. We're looking at gut-related issues, gut repair, constipation as well. And 20 years ago, we're looking at stool analysis. Like we were looking at this, and doing stool analysis. They were not as sophisticated as they are in these days, but we were certainly going down that track, way before anybody else did. We were talking about supplements as well, about the safety of supplements, what they might be used for. And look, flavour of the month, even 20 years ago, secretin was a flavour of the month. At the moment, it's a Nemetschek protocol that's actually a flavour of the month. And over 20 years, no one protocol has actually come out on top that has shown to be effective for all children. And we did talk about certain vitamins and why they actually would be beneficial, and why the children actually improved when we did put them on things like vitamin A. And yes, there was a lot of discussion about some of the core symptoms of autism, like stimming in this case. What might be beneficial, what might be causing it, and what we can do about it as well to help our children. And this group was then eventually moved over to the Autism Biomedical discussion group, which is a Yahoo group, and it's an American group. But there's also an Australian group. There was a gluten-free, casein-free kids, looking at diet and diet recipes that are gluten-free and casein-free. In those days, there was also an Autism Mercury group. I know controversial these days, but in those days, we were clutching at straws. There was also a chelating kids group as well. There was a lot of groups that I belonged to that was actually biochemistry groups, looking at low oxalates and low oxalate diets as well, looking at the PST enzyme in the sulfur stories group, and looking at clearing the phenolic foods with sulfuration pathways and so forth. And yes, look, we also on the experimental, chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia groups as well. We were learning a lot, from each other as well. Look, over the years, there are fewer and fewer messages posted on these groups until the group reaches sort of a natural end. The children have grown up and have reached their optimal potential in life, and many have gone to mainstream school. And as children improved, parents spent less and less time on these groups, just like I did. And and it's mostly because they were doing very well. And eventually, parents didn't bother checking into the group unless the wheels fell off and they needed advice, so they'd actually come back. Like myself, there's no reason to be there anymore, to be on the group. But I was there because I felt compelled to give back the time that other parents spent to help me on my autism journey with my own son. And yes, look, there are children that were still struggling, especially those with an intellectual disability. However, these children, although they were struggling, they all seem to be enjoying a reasonably good quality of life, both the children and their parents. And yeah, like I said, the newer generation of parents were opting to go to Facebook groups from here. So someone actually suggested that I join some of these Australian Facebook autism groups, those that are doing biomedical, and also those that are not very strong on the biomedical diet or supplement path. So I joined some of the Facebook groups because that is where the new generation of autism parents are going for advice. These are and look, there are a few biomedical friendly Facebook groups there that support diet and supplements, but there are many more that are just going with the conventional autism recommended treatments as well. And as a parent, I actually consider myself lucky that I found my autism try early on that I resonated with so many years ago, and that I actually did take that alternative path. Because what I found on these other groups literally shocked, and it's actually unsettled me quite a bit. It was something that I'd never experienced in over 20 years of being on these online groups. So I'll share some comments, and these comments have been modified extensively so we're not to identify anybody, but they will give you an idea of what, the flavour of what's actually being posted online at the moment. For example, my 8-year-old daughter has been repeatedly suspended from school. 6 schools over 3 years, 4 within 1 year, mostly for aggressive behaviour. I can't hold a job because I'm constantly called to intervene at school. She's currently medicated with risperidone. We've tried countless ADHD drugs. They all seem to make her more aggressive. She's also been on antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds with no real difference. Another one, I don't know if anything works anymore. He can't focus, he's still aggressive and anxious, and the risperidone has caused him to now develop permanent body stims and stuttering. Who's noticed severe aggression on Concerta? Last night reached a whole new level where he broke a glass and sliced my arm open with it. How sad. Basically, my 10-year-old son is a mental mess. We did a medication review today. He's taking Lamictal, risperidone, Ritalin and Catapres. His paediatrician doesn't know where else to go with him. And risperidone caused him to be very aggressive and also made his thyroid underactive and liver problems. He also would see or hear things that were not there. It's so sad. I just want to run away. I just want to run far, far away. I'm done with autism, ADHD and ODD. Parents are just giving up. I can't deal with this anymore. So over the anger and aggression, the constant fighting over trivial things, thinking about becoming an alcoholic so I don't have to deal with autism anymore. Yeah, that's pretty funny, but it's also really sad at the same time as well. And look, on this group, there are parents that are doing a diet. Yes, we're currently undertaking the fail-safe elimination diet and have seen a massive improvement in behaviour. Check out the fedup.com website. I did it. It didn't work for us. However, I did find trigger foods like tomatoes. Tin were worse, shapes, biscuits, and some bread. So it's interesting that this parent actually found some trigger foods, but they didn't look further to see and try and refine the diet by the sound of it. Another one, first thing I ever did was change the diet to gluten-free. I almost completely eliminated sugar and limited the dairy. Saw results in 24 to 48 hours. It was amazing. I've also done an excellent liquid fish oil, expensive, but it's more concentrated. Best thing I ever did. Well, it also shows that a good quality fish oil is much better than these gummy bears that are being given to kids. Another one, my ped told me last week to stop the gluten-free, dairy-free, low-sugar diet with my child who is being tested for ADHD, as they have double-blind trials with no difference. Well, that's not true. More negative comments that came through on the groups. Some people say ADHD is just food-related. No such thing. It's just a real neurological condition. Yes, it's neurological, but food can also exacerbate it as well. You are wrong. This is a neurological condition and is not fixed by some oils or a diet. It's the same thing as suggesting to a family with a child who has leukemia, just change your child's diet and they'll be fine. It's not biomedical, it's pseudoscience. And so, a lot of these initial comments were from 2 or 3 years ago, and I've noticed that lately, especially in the last 6 months on this particular group, nobody's even mentioned it about diet because, well, that's not what the group's about, and when anybody mentions it, they also get these negative comments as well, so they don't bother, saying anything anymore. And when he talks about fussy eating, there's comments like these on this on these groups as well. It's been years of fussy eating, and we're now down to just 2 foods: toast and milk. Oh my God, toast and milk. We live on Pediasure, Salada crackers, and red apples. Oh Jesus. Dietitian isn't much help. They basically make cookies during the session, and oh gee, I can do that for $180 a pop. And because there's a lot of violence and aggression, issues with children on these groups. I actually posted an Australian study into micronutrients and aggression in children that showed that how after 6 weeks of supplementation, the aggression scores decreased significantly. And the response to that post really surprised me. Considering that this is one of the biggest issues parents are dealing with their children on this group. Out of a membership of over 5,000, I got 3 likes and 2 comments from one person that was confused initially about something. No interest at all. The response to something like this on all the other groups that I've been on in the past, there are always some responses saying, well, look, where can I get this? Is it available in Australia? How much is it? And so forth. No, nothing at all. I cannot understand, with all the research that we have on autism, ADHD, aggressive behaviour and defiance in children, understanding is the wrong word. I think sadness is probably more appropriate, that parents prefer to medicate their children, for instant results rather than give their children the help nutritionally and medically that they need first. Look, let's just qualify that. Look, if a child is aggressive to themselves and their family members or others, well, yes, look, in that case, you would start with medication, but you'd actually look further to see what's causing it. Look, I'm not anti-medication, but it should be a last resort option to medicate a child, not a first line of treatment. Unless they're a danger, like I said, to themselves or other family members or others members of the public. Compare that tribe with the biomedical tribe. If I search for aggression on a group that's got a biomedical flavour, you have comments like this. Have you looked into pyrroles for your son? Aggression and anger can often come with pyrroles, and a lot of our kids have it along with ASD. Another one. My boy, for some time, has been without B6 and vitamin B12. He's been taking quarter of his usual zinc amount. As instructed by our new practitioner, we pulled them out, reduced the doses significantly. He developed the following symptoms: tics, dark circles under his eyes, teeth grinding, extreme temper tantrums, anger, nervousness, sensory issues, aggression, not following instructions. I'm certainly putting him back onto his supplements. Another one, just wanted to suggest you might want to have a look at PANS or PANDAS. We've just gone through a similar situation with our son, aggression, severe hyperactivity, meltdown, self-harm and so forth, and I simply couldn't figure out why until we treated him for PANS. Another one, he's been home for 2 days with more aggressive outbursts. The hospital has taken him off Lexapro and put him back on risperidone. He was at his best a few months ago when we were on full swing into our biomed journey. We had to stop it for a few days when he developed a rash, and everything has been downhill from there. And you know, when it comes to a diet as well, some of the posts I posted a week or so ago about changing my son's diet to gluten-free. Oh my God, it's a godsend. My son's paediatrician says less carb, more protein and veg fruits, less preservatives. He recommended ethical nutrients, fish oil. Oh, we need more paediatricians like this. You know, there's somebody that's actually noticing a difference in children. But look, there's also, there's not always success stories like this one. You know, I'm desperate. I have a teenage daughter, almost 17, with Asperger's, who's absolutely out of control. Past 2 weeks, I've found her missing from her bed twice, discovered she's binge drinking. She's disappeared this time for days and feels it's well within her rights to do so. Like, these type of posts are actually rare on the Biomed group, while they're almost a daily post on the non-Biomed groups. Yeah, and that's the difference. So, look, you really need to find your tribe of experts, I guess, the right Facebook or other support group that will support you. You know, if a Facebook group is doing medication mostly and against diet or supplements, or even getting your child checked for underlying medical conditions or pain or discomfort, look, you need to look elsewhere. You know, once you get into a group that is doing diet supplements, gut healing, look, the mood is much more positive on that group. Yes, there is always that subgroup of children that don't respond. Yeah, look, they're the ones that we need to look into more comprehensively and ask the right questions as to, look, why are they not responding? So conventional versus alternative autism treatments. You know, conventional autism treatment. Yeah, look, there's some dietary awareness. You know, there's removal of colours and preservatives mostly. There's also, you know, some supplement use, mostly multivitamins and fish oils in the form of gummy bears, the quality of which I'd really question. There's a high reliance on medication of children, you know, and multiple medications as well. The side effects of these medications can actually be quite serious as well. The long-term effects, you know, weight gain and other medical conditions, they actually come with that. Medications stop working, you know, sometimes, and we still don't know what the long-term effects are on the brain. But there's no doubt that, you know, there are some parents that find medication very effective for their children. And I won't deny that. But the proportion that find it effective and those that are not effective, or the children actually get worse, you know, we don't really know. And underlying issues like, you know, good quality high fibre diet and adequate nutrients, you know, like iron, zinc, omega-3 protein and so forth, are not addressed. And look, these are the basic nutrients that children need to grow and develop as well. And on the biomedical autism, you know, treatment sort of side, you know, there's much more awareness of dietary issues, not only removal of colours and preservatives, but, you know, removal of gluten and dairy can make a big difference as well, and also including high fibre, nutrient dense, gut healing foods as well, and with supplements, you know, more extensive testing to see what nutrients these children actually need, and make sure that the supplements actually are good quality supplements as well. There's a much lower reliance on medication of children, and there's certainly multiple medications are actually very rare. Side effects of supplements, they're much less severe and can be managed quite easily. Long-term effects, well, usually the long-term effects are a healthier, happier child, more likely to participate in therapies and make positive gains. Look, it's even been noticed by a lot of speech therapists, OT, and even paediatricians have actually noticed a change in a lot of these children as well. And the proportion that do well, like I said, anecdotally, 60 to 70% of these children anecdotally do very, very, very well. And look, as one autism group moderator that has been on the autism journey probably as long as I have, if not even longer, actually lamented to me recently, I think we had actually more success in the old days when everything was actually all quite new. The parents seemed to work a lot harder and followed protocols much more closely, and they were more steadfast in bringing, and trying to heal their children as well. Today, it seems to me like it's try this and try that for a few weeks and see if it works. If not, give up and try something else. Well, no, some of these things you have to persevere for for months, if not years, sometimes as well to make the gains that you actually need to see in your child. And this is what I'm finding as well. Often parents will call me and I spend an hour or more of my time to chat about their child. And look, the parents are keen to do some blood work, so I send them a list of suggested blood work, and it all makes sense to them. They're never to be heard of again, or worse still, I hear from them 5 years later because the paediatrician wants to put their child onto medication, but they've already lost 5 years. Or as parents, we're doing diets. Well, we did it 70 or 80% of the time. No, look, you need to do it 100% to actually know whether it's actually going to work or not. Supplements that they give on and off, often they gravitate to the latest autism cure or protocol. And look, in 20 plus years, the only intervention that comes close to being universal for children is diet and behavioural intervention, period. Addressing gut, anxiety and sleep issues, comes next, and that's in my opinion. So there are many autism Facebook groups out there, generated by a new generation of autism parents that are offering opinion more than fact. Some are better than others, but I cringe at some of the advice on these groups that's actually given. But look, I just haven't got the time or the energy to fight, individual battles here. In the old days, grandparents, elders, they were actually held in high regard for their wisdom. These days, much of that hard-gained wisdom is shelved as parents will rely on the advice of Google and the opinion of new parents rather than the hard-learned lessons, from years of clinical observation and research. Look, you may not agree with these comments, but just consider this. We old-timers, we have years of hindsight behind us there, and we are in the privileged position of seeing autism through not one but many generations of parents. We have seen how our and other children have progressed and evolved over the years. Yes, look, we were the ones that have been accused of being quacks, abusing our kids and basically being crazy hippie parents and so forth. But the fact now is that the research is vindicating our commitment to our children regarding gut health, nutrition and supplements. Who is right? Well, the only way we will know is to compare our children's outcomes at the moment with the eventual outcomes of the new generation of children as they enter adulthood. Like I said, I haven't seen so many sad and desperate comments in 20 plus years of being on biomedical parent discussion groups. And it has really surprised and saddened me that this is the real state of autism out there. After so many years of research that it hasn't been implemented into clinical practice at all. So up until now, look, I've only read the research on the poor quality outcome of children as they become adults and their parents as well. But the research is one thing, but what I read on these discussions, that's sad to the next level. I've been in my comfortable tribe, for such a long time, and in my own isolated autism world, I guess, and I feel like I've stepped out of my comfortable, logical research world and stepped into an illogical, irrational, and totally emotional world. Look, I love my tribe. I should say I love my tribes. And I'm thankful for my tribes as well, because without them, my son and I may have been in a very different place today. As usual, I encourage you to leave your comments below, and please share to help get that message out there, especially to the parents that are struggling every day with their children. And thank you very much for listening. So the conventional path versus the alternative path. The conventional autism treatment path, there is some dietary awareness there, removal of colours and preservatives mostly, but there's also, so conventional, treatment path. There is some dietary awareness there, a removal of colours and preservatives mostly. There's also some supplement used, mostly a multivitamin or in fish oils that are like gummy bears, and the quality of which I would actually really question, and the usefulness of that. And there's a high reliance on medication of children, and multiple medications as well, as we've seen. The side effects of medication can be quite serious. And the long-term effects, like weight gain and the medical conditions that actually come with that. Medications also stop working often for the children, and the long-term effects on the brain we still don't really know. But no doubt that there are some parents that find medication very effective. I won't deny that. But the proportion that find it effective and those that find it non-effective, or even the children get worse, we really don't know. And underlying issues like good quality, high fibre diets, and adequate nutrition, and nutrients like having enough iron, zinc, omega-3 oils, protein, and so forth. None of this actually is addressed, and children, they need this to grow and develop properly as well. And compare that to the biomed sort of treatment groups. There's much more emphasis on dietary sort of awareness, not only removal of colours and preservatives and removal of gluten, dairy, but also including high fibre, nutrient dense, gut healing foods as well. And with supplement use, more extensive testing to see what nutrients these children actually do need. And the quality of the supplements is